Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the second edition of Pop Spot Presents. I am your host, Andre Shade. Joining me, as always, my boy AWS. And joining us here this month, it's our friend. It's one of the best wrestlers that I've ever seen in my life. It's T.Y JACKSON, wrestling's royalty. How you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm doing well. It's always a pleasure to chat with you guys at shows and stuff. So it's really cool to be able to do this. And yeah, wrestling royalty. I haven't heard that one in a while, so I'm sure we'll get into that for a bit. But
it's so great. It's T.Y JACKSON. It's my LPW Wrestler of the Year.
Yeah.
Oh yes, and not Andre's, I guess, apparently, but whatever.
No
hard feelings. No hard feelings.
I might have picked your upcoming opponent in March. I might have picked him because he had a great year. Can't blame him. So, but you know, I love myself from T.Y JACKSON. So
absolutely,
much appreciated.
So yeah, we're here with T.Y JACKSON, chatting the life and career and everything, and learn a little bit more about one of Alberta's favorite indie wrestlers. And Bobby Munson works for PPW. He's one of his favorite wrestlers, T.Y JACKSON.
Really?
He said to say hello to you too.
Nice. Shout out Bobby. He's great.
Yeah, Bobby's good people. So let's just dive into this. So we're gonna start before you ever got into wrestling. We're gonna kick it out. When did you become a fan of professional wrestling? Like, what was the starting point for you with professional wrestling?
I've always been a fan of wrestling. Like, it was one of those things where my mom was a big fan. She still is, doesn't watch as much, but she was a big fan of wrestling. So she would always have it on TV. It was just her thing. So naturally, just, being a kid and being around your mom, you just start watching the stuff that they're watching, just like how some kids, grow up watching football or hockey or basketball, whatever. Wrestling was kind of the thing that was just always in my household. So I don't actually remember not watching wrestling. As soon as I just spawned into life, I was watching somebody wrestling. So it was always around. I was always a fan of it. There was periods of time where I got out of it a little bit and got back into it, but I always was a fan and I always knew what was going on. So it was just, always one of those things that I was watching growing up.
That's surprising because I hear from people, it's usually it's their dad is the entry point for a lot of people. Their dad being a fan.
Yeah.
So it's cool to hear that your mom was a fan.
Yeah, diving a little bit into into some of the interesting stuff. Like my mom was she's first generation to this country, to Canada. So we used to watch wrestling back. Originally, she's from Sudan. She used to watch wrestling back with her family when she was a kid. And she ended up moving over here to Canada. It was the first time in a country that literally she didn't know the language, didn't know the culture, didn't know anything. So the one thing she brought with her was wrestling, because it was what she watched with her family. So that was kind of the connection, where it was almost like a comfort thing, I think, for her. And then being able to watch it with her, I think, was almost giving her a little bit of a sense of community. Like she had some family around that she missed. So yeah, a little lore behind that. But it's pretty interesting to see how wrestling can really bring people together and can be a reminder of, a place that you've been or people that you love. So it's very fascinating in that sense.
It's so cool.
It's that it's a worldwide thing, because wrestling, WWE, now AEW kind of exists everywhere in the world. So it's an interconnection, because you see these companies going all around the world and the fans out there cheering super loudly. And it's this weird connector that everybody not everybody, but a lot of people around the world can kind of connect through.
Yeah. It's a very cool, melting pot sort of thing with all these cultures, celebrating each other through wrestling. It's really cool. So you started watching obviously when you were very young. Do you have any specific favorites that you remember really liking while growing up?
Yeah, I was big fan of Jeff Hardy, guy, and I'm sure you guys have seen it from some of the stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, was it last year's
things,
Imitation Games last year?
Yeah. Twice, I think.
Yeah, I think twice.
So I was a big Jeff Hardy guy, a big Kofi Kingston fan. I actually really liked, and I tell people, some of my friends who are a little older and they watch wrestling to the Attitude Era, but I loved the newer version of DX, the glow stick DX. That was like, I was a big fan of him as a kid, but you know, I didn't know about, you know, the OG DX, you know. So every time I tell people, oh, I was a fan of DX in like 07 or 08, they're like, what? That's like not even the best DX. So
that's when I started
those are
watching
my guys. Yeah, so
Like
those are my guys. Yeah.
I had the same feeling. I didn't like. I think I was like very, very super casual fan in the '90s. I didn't really become a hardcore fan until like 2002. So that was past DX. So, like the DX I know, again, same as you. Like I know of DX, but like I never watched them. So the DX I know is the same one you did.
Yeah,
exactly.
this is weird. We're all in that same boat where Glow Stick DX is the one that we knew.
Oh, I love Glow Stick DX. They were great. I had the glow sticks, I had the armbands, I had everything. I was a huge fan. So those are kind of my guys. I was just a big fan of like people who were different, people who weren't like the stereotypical, like, you know, trunks and boots wrestlers. I was really a fan of like people that I could relate to a little bit. Like with Jeff, obviously, like he just looks like your typical like junior high school kid now. So that's what I related to, because I was into that same type of vibe. DX were just a bunch of goofy people that did goofy stuff, so it resonated with my personality. Kofi was like one of those high flyer guys, and he was very unique and very interesting, so I kind of related to him. Punk was another guy I really liked too, because he was different with the whole straight edge stuff. So you see a pattern of just like people who aren't the typical wrestlers. I was a big fan of when I was younger.
Very cool.
And you can see it in your style, like just in your moveset and how you work. Again, the Swanton being one of your main finishes. I've seen you hit Trouble in Paradise multiple times. I can see why those two have really come into influencing you in your career.
Exactly. I don't do it as good as them, but I try.
So you were saying your mom is from the Sudan. So, like, what kind of culture? Like, that's obviously a big culture. Just her coming over here. Like within your family now, and as you are now, like you still practice a lot of the culture from the kind of culture stuff, and you're like, how do you kind of keep roots to that? Like,
yeah, no, that's a great question. Being honest, and I think if a lot of like first generations can relate to this, it becomes really difficult to compare the culture that you were brought into in like the country that you're living in now versus the culture that your parents had. And it becomes like a weird in between phase where, like, you know, you have these new ideas, these new thoughts, these new things that you're looking into because you're going into school and you're dealing with people with different cultures and backgrounds. But you also have the cultures that your parents, came from and that they want to instill in you. So I think it becomes a balance. And I think I found like a little healthy balance where, you know, I can appreciate where I've come from. I love where I come from. I've been back multiple times visiting family and stuff. So I never forget where I come from, but I also realize that there's other ideas and there's other mindsets and beliefs that you can benefit from. And I think that's kind of the best way to go about it. I was thankful that my parents were really cool and they were really able to like allow me to, you know, watch stuff like wrestling, which like a lot of kids that I know weren't allowed to watch wrestling, right? So it was kind of a little in between kind of vibe, but it's difficult. It really does become difficult when you're in that weird like in between phase. But I think it worked out a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of beautiful. It's figuring out who you are using your kind of your culture versus the world you live in. I can understand that. I get that. Again, not to the same as you. I'm
Absolutely.
I'm multi-generational into living in Canada. So, but yeah. So you say you were a fan all like through on and off through your childhood into high school and everything. So before we jump into your wrestling, we get into you jumping into wrestling. You did a documentary a couple of years ago, Making Kayfabe, and it talked about you talked a bit in there about going to university and everything. So, what did you go to school for? Like, what did you like study in there?
Yeah, so I went to the U of A. I got a bachelor's degree in economics, and I minored in mathematics. So I'm quite a nerd. I'm a big numbers guy. So it was always something I was really interested in. I was always curious about like how the world works in a sense. And there's a lot of ways you can approach that. You can approach that from like a scientific perspective, from, you know, a health perspective, from a psych perspective. Like there's a lot of ways you can look at it. For me, what really was interesting was like, how does the world work like money wise? Like how do transactions work? How do banks work? How does the economy work? So I was always a big fan of that stuff. And I was always just good at numbers. Be honest, I don't really like math, but I was just good at it. So I was like, okay, it's easy.
I know that feeling.
Easy.
Yep.
So I ended up going to school for that, and it kind of worked out. I met a lot of really cool people there. And I think it really helped me mature quickly which really helped for wrestling because I got into it at such a young age. I think I needed to mature a little bit and be able to navigate the wrestling world because it can be crazy if you're young and dumb, as they say.
Mhm.
So how old were you when how did you find it? Like, how old were you when you found MPW to start training with them? Like, how did you find them?
I was 17. So I
Okay.
was literally like almost done high school is when I found MPW. Okay, well that's actually a lie. I knew about them beforehand. I just didn't have the courage to reach out because I was like, I'm too young. Like they're probably not gonna say anything. So I sent like emails here and there.
That makes me laugh. There's one specific person we all know that was training there since he was a baby, essentially.
Yes, yeah, exactly. In hindsight, it's kind of funny to think of though. But I had sent like emails here and there, being like, "Oh, like I'm 18 years old," and I was like 12 or something, being like, "Hey, like, could I do this wrestling thing?" And they were like, "Yeah, once you're like 17, 18, maybe come back, but you can come and help out and stuff like that." And I would almost like when you get a text message from like your crush or something, and you throw your phone across the room and just like don't acknowledge it. That was literally me when they would reply. So I knew that they existed. I knew that they existed, but I didn't really actually do anything about it until I was about a senior in high school. So,
did you go to like any indie wrestling when you were younger? Did you end up going to any of it, or was it more getting involved in MPW that kind of got you into the indie world?
I think so. MPW got me into the indie world in general, but I do recall going to like a PWA show when I was like maybe like 10 or 11, and it might have been the one where AJ and Joe were on. I don't recall if it was that one exactly, but I remember telling my dad, being like, I want to go to WWE and whatever. My dad's like, whatever. I just found like this random indie, and he was like, I'm just going to take this kid there so he shuts up and stops talking about wrestling. So, but I vaguely remember it. But I know that I ended up going to one indie show when I was younger. But MPW was the most part.
Yeah, I didn't find indie till I was an adult. Indie wrestling till I was an adult, sadly. But
No, I found it in teenage. But so you graduate from high school, you turn 18, whatever. You finally get your foot in the door at MPW. How was training there?
It was interesting. When I got into it, I think I was still technically 17 because I'm a late baby. I'm a December baby. So I got into it because they had one of those mini camps, those 2-day trial things. Yeah. And I remember being like, okay, this 2-day mini camp was like in maybe August, I think, or like really early September. And I was like, okay, going to university the like next semester. I went straight in from high school, and I was like, okay, I have a couple months to like F around and just try this wrestling thing. Worst case, I don't like it. Best case, I like it, and then I can just like take a pause, go to school, and then come back just to scratch that itch in the meantime. So I'm not just like thinking about it, all the time while I'm in school. Mm-hmm. So I ended up doing the mini camp for 2 days. Loved it. Met a lot of people that I call my best friends now. So it was really cool. I'm glad I did it. But then it was one of those things where like I did the 2 days, and then the trainer's massive damage. He was like, you already paid for like basically a month. If you want to just like come around for like the rest of the summer, you can just come and do that. And I was like, oh, I already paid for it, so I'll just go. And then it was like, hey, we have like a show, you want to do this? And I was like, fine, I'll do it. And then it just like snowballed to this day. Like I never ended up taking the break. So that was kind of how I got into it. But yeah, I got bit by the bug and I couldn't get away.
That sounds great, because like I hear that from a lot of people I talk to that got in. It's like it's that one little piece. It's like, yep, gotta keep going. I was the opposite. I was like, no. I tried bumping, and I was like, no, never want to do that again. That was I ran away from the physical side once I tried it. I was like, nope, never again. Yeah. But exactly. I love that, because as I hear guys talk about guys that they saw on the first day of these camps that they never saw again. But then there's the ones that like fought through, like obviously you did, and kept going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there was a lot of really talented people there, like really athletic people who like you would expect, be like, these guys are going to be wrestlers, these guys and gals. There's no way. And then they just like vanish, and then there's like dumb, 17-year-old me that just lingering around, just like loving it and enjoying it. And I think it's like the part of this being a fan, I think, and knowing what it could be, and knowing that it's probably going to be hard in the beginning and being able to push through. Whereas a lot of people probably came into it thinking, oh, it's going to be this like easy, fun thing. And then when they realize that it actually like really hurts, they're like, never mind, it's not worth it. Right. So.
Yep.
So you start with MPW, and again, I look back through the cage match just to kind of just refresh because I remember being at MPW shows when you first popped up because I remember watching you, Larry, uh, Rich, a bunch of you guys. When Mitch debuted there, was it 2016, 2017, whenever you did. I remember watching a lot of you guys pop up and kind of rise up in wrestling because and it's really cool to see where it's all gone now. And you kind of started with Big Ben, Supreme Squad. I want to.
Yeah, the Supreme Squad. Jeez, I haven't heard that in forever. Got PTSD.
So like, what is it like getting kind of paired up? Like, what do you how do you feel when you first go in? Like, did you train with Ben? It was Ben one of the people like you kind of came up with, or he was? Can't really remember on that one personally, but yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just differentiate quickly because I think current Judge Ben Omen will start getting jealous if I start using the Ben name and not acknowledge that it's not him. But it wasn't Judge Ben Omen. It was a different fella. His name was Big Ben. He was a wrestler. Him and I were like the youngest. I think he was actually technically younger than me, but we were like the youngest like wrestlers in Monster Pro at the time. So they were like, well, these two kids are young. They're both dumb. So I guess put them together. I don't know. I don't think that was probably the smart decision. I think maybe put somebody younger with somebody who's more experienced, but whatever, not my company. But they put us together, and so we ended up becoming like actually pretty good friends at the time because we were just like, everybody here is like 10 years older than us. They're all like old and mean and scary, and we're just like these young kids. Like, so we stuck together a lot. And then we ended up, forming the Supreme Squad as a tag team, and it wasn't really long lasted. I think maybe like a few shows we did. It wasn't that long, but it was nice to like have somebody who was at the same level as you to be able to like talk about your experience and how you feel and how scared shitless you are. Sorry, I can't swear on here, but how scared.
Go right ahead.
You literally can. We broke past the first 15 minutes. You're fine.
Okay, sounds good. But like how scared I was, and you were able to bounce off a person who can kind of understand where you're at. So that was super cool being able to do that. But yeah, I was terrified. Like I had no idea what I was doing. I was not supposed to be in the ring that early. But I kind of figured it out. Thankfully, the people at the time were really good. They were really they were able to kind of guide us through matches and be able to like let us know what points of the match we should be in, what we should be doing and stuff like that. So it was cool, but yeah, I was terrified.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know from experience when I got to do a bit of work through BackBreaker back in the day with MPW. A lot of the guys there are constantly training and constantly at training and everything. So I could figure even though you're still very early, a lot of the guys you got to work with early on were guys that were training there. So you got to kind of you had that feel at least that you could get in the ring with somebody you trusted from training, right? I'm guessing to that point, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And the advantage of Monster Pro at the time was because I think it was the only consistent training school at the time. For younger people, you were able to like go in and like maybe meet up with the people you're going to be working and be like, hey, can we just like go over some stuff? And like, so it's not like a last minute thing that, most wrestlers do nowadays is kind of just put it together the day of a show. So that was a little bit, you get to like kind of practice your match, I guess, for a bit with people that so it makes it easy for people who are starting out new. But yeah, like there's a lot of people that are like wrestling staples now in the scene who were there training and helping us guide through stuff. So it was helpful on that end of things for sure.
Nice. And then you would form one of my favorite tag teams, one of the greatest names I've ever heard in my life. It's just by the description and the name, Wrestling's Royalty with KB6, King Bright of the as he's known. How did that come together? Was it just another like, hey, randomly pair these two together, or?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't remember exactly how it came about because I think Ben stopped wrestling shortly before Wrestling Royalty was formed. So I think I was kind of like in my own little like single space for like maybe a show, or maybe it was in between shows or something. And then KB6 started training at the school. And just like through coincidence, we would always be there together and we'd always just be working with each other. And then it ended up being one of those things where like, whoa, you guys like really work well together. I think Monster Pro just loves tag teams. I don't know why, but it was like, yeah, just put them in a tag team because like they work similar, I guess. I don't know. I was still pretty new at the time, so I was like, whatever. I just want to like wrestle, so we'll do it. So me and Brandon KB6 ended up being a team, and we actually really like. I think Wrestling Royalty was probably my favorite time in Monster Pro, because we did genuinely have really good chemistry. We were like good like compliments in the ring. And you know, me and Brandon genuinely do get along. So it was a good kind of experience for us to kind of like, okay, this is like an actual tag team. Whereas like with the Supreme Squad, it was more of like the Job Squad type of vibe. So it was like, you know, it was actually nice to like be in a team that was like a little bit more prominently featured on the show. So yeah.
Yeah. So you go with KB6 and wrestling's royalty for a while. When exactly did you sort of, how do I phrase it, break the bubble out of MPW and start bridging out to other promotions?
Yeah, I think it was probably around pandemic time. So I had already been aware of the scene and seeing what's going on and things that people are doing. And I was starting to do a little more spot shows and go out and work with other companies outside of town. And I was like, cool, there's some really cool people that are doing cool things here. And I think I just kind of felt like I reached a ceiling there. I felt like it wasn't going to get anything better than where I'm at right now. And I feel like with wrestling, like you kind of have like one shot to do this. Like you kind of have like, this is it. Like you can't, if something happens, you get hurt, it's over. Right. So you really need to like take chances where you can and bet on yourself. And I think a few of us, you know, who ended up becoming the RADz as a team, like what kind of really brought us together was the idea that like we wanted to do more than what we were doing at the time. And we almost felt like we were the only ones there who were like wanting to do that. I think everybody else was okay and content with being there, which is perfectly fine, but we weren't. Yeah. And then so you start gravitating towards the people who are like have the same mindset as you. And then we started talking more, we started getting closer because of those feelings. And then, you know, when it's iron sharpens iron, and you have somebody, you have guys like Rich and Mitch who are super athletic, guys who are have amazing ring, you know, IQ, like Larry, like you start to like become more like, okay, these guys understand what they're doing and maybe I should like be around them. And then you start to talk and you start to think about things. And then we ended up making the move together to leave there. So it was more of like a group kind of consensus thing and you know, believing in yourself and betting in yourself and having people there you can trust kind of makes it a little easier.
Yeah, I think seeing you guys pop up at RCW was because I stopped going. I stopped going to MPW like pre the pandemic. Like I stopped going in like mid 2019. And then when I saw you guys pop up in like late 2020, early 2021 over in RCW, I was so happy because I was like, I love these guys. Like these guys, you guys were some of my favorites for me. You guys, Parrish and Maniac, when they jumped over, I love seeing the kind, and I always love seeing people jump from promotion to promotion. It was it kind of just, it was that fresh coat of paint, right? It was feeling, and you guys in RCW and other promotions, because I know you guys traveled a bunch during that in those like couple of years there. Like was it BEW and a bunch of others you guys were jumping around to, and you formed the RADz. Like like little YouTube channel that was still to this day some of my favorite videos to go back and watch. I was watching your guys' Tales from the Undercard. I love it. And there I know there was one that was like something about mid card or something. It was Kevy Chevy and AJ Sanchez started doing their own, kind of copying you guys doing it with their mid card from the mid card or something. But like I absolutely loved that. So like, how did like the whole like you're saying, like you guys just kind of became friends and that kind of created, like, how do you guys kind of start to want to do it, like do these little backstage video part of it all? Where did that come from?
Yeah, no, great question. I think so. And Monster Pro, we kind of became friends like behind the scenes, and we weren't really associating with each other on shows and stuff. We were just like kind of a group of friends that enjoyed being around each other. Then we jumped over to RCW. You know, the fortunate part about that point is we were actually running weekly at the time. So running weekly means that you have a lot of chances to do stuff and a lot of chances to take risks, because you're like, well, worst case scenario, it doesn't work out. Next week, we just pretend like it never happened, you know? So we had a little bit more of a desire to do more. And it ended up being, you know, me and Rich tagged against Marsa Specialists and the now retired Fandango. And we were put in that tag team. And I think me and Rich actually like for real did not want to be in that team together. We like did not want to do it. We enjoyed each other. We liked each other's presence, but we were like, we don't want to tag. Like, we left MPW because Rich was in a tag team at the time. I was in a tag team. So we were like, we want to do single stuff. So we were really like reluctant about being a tag team. So we were like, you know what, if we're going to do this, let's just like make a video out of it, have some fun. He was kind of doing a little bit of like the video stuff on his own. So he's like, hey, we want to just like record some stuff of us like just not wanting to team with each other. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. It'll make it, you know, worth the pain of having to be in another tag team. So we did the video and we were like, this is actually pretty fun. Like we enjoyed it. We ripped off each other really well. So then it kind of snowballed from there. We started tagging more as a team, as like pre-RADz, and that's where kind of like the video started to come out more, and we were like, let's just like have some fun with this, you know, almost like BTE kind of vibes. It was pretty big at the time, and we were like, whatever, let's just have fun with it. So that's where like the origins of it became. And then it slowly started to form where, you know, we were traveling a lot more, doing a lot more shows together, and we're like, well, we're doing this YouTube show thing, we might as well just tag in this company. We might as well just tag in this company. So then it just became like the tails became like the main part. And Rich can tell you this too. We didn't really care about the wrestling. We just wanted to like get content for tails. Or like, well, I guess we got to tag so we have some like wrestling footage you can throw in there. So it kind of became like tails was like the most important thing for us at the time. And then, you know, that's how it kind of snowballed to becoming, you know, the full-blown RADz on screen.
So I got a question, because one of my favorite pieces from Tales of the Undercard is from Larry and his addiction to Transformers.
Yeah, which is real, by the way.
Has he gotten that under control?
No. No, it's just, I think it's probably worse now. It's worse.
Oh wow.
We made that video, I think, as a way to like embarrass him, so that he like so that people would see it outside of our circle and like make fun of him. And he just doubled down, and we were like, well, crap. Like, now we can't. This is over for us. So a lot of those things on Tales are actually like true for the most part. Obviously exaggerated to an extent, but it was based off real life events. So yeah, that addiction is messed up. I've seen it. It's messed up. He has a whole room dedicated to it. Right? It's insane. Love you, Larry.
God.
That makes exposure there.
Because, like, as people know, we have been fairly critical of Larry.
Yeah, a little bit.
Fairly critical of Larry, but like, I still, I just, that just makes me laugh so hard. Because again, it was one of my favorite like recurring bits that would come up, because it was just like he's always got. It was one of those little recurring bits that just made me laugh so hard every time you guys would bring it up, and it was just I loved watching you guys on the road going different places, because again, like it's like, yeah, you felt like you got an again the BTE behind the scenes feel of just, but the Alberta indie scene, like just at such a like not low, but you know what I mean, at the like the big indie level, seeing guys kind of experiencing what not a lot of people see in professional. People just kind of, a lot of people just assume, oh yeah, it's running the roads and and like going from hotel to hotel. It's like, no, not really. You're sleeping in your car and
yeah, exactly,
after a show, because it's too expensive.
And we were almost looking at it as like, it was, a lot of it was like just fun, but a lot of it was like marketing too, because like at that point, so doing a faction on the indies is very difficult, because like scheduling promotions, getting promotions to like buy into like bringing you in as a group who probably have never like seen you before, it's hard. So it was almost a way for us to be like, here's some stuff on us, this is what we've been doing, like watch it. And it kind of helped them, because they could see match footage, they could see our charisma, they could see how the way we rip off of each other, and it was easier than us just being like, here's a wrestling resume, my name is this is a, you know what I mean? It was just easier to do it that way. And if people were, you know, if anybody was watching it, you know, in those new promotions we were going to, they could at least be like, okay, we know what these guys are before they get here. So it was almost like a way to like hit a lot of like birds with one stone, and it became super helpful in that sense of things, because it really helped us keep a faction on the indies where it's very difficult to do so.
Yeah. So you eventually, like, was it late 2022? A little faction or a little promotion popped up named LPW. Love Wrestling made its way around. Like how? Like I know I know the backstory of how the promotion started, but how did you come to get involved with LPW? Like you and the rest of the RADz kind of all migrating over.
Yeah. So I was doing a lot of RCW stuff at the time. I think I was doing like most of the shows during the week. So I was super busy with that. Initially with LPW, I think Rich, Mitch, and Larry had a relationship with LPW in a sense beforehand, like with Spencer Love during the whole Win Column Sports stuff. I didn't really know him as well. We had a couple interviews together, but I wasn't really as close with him. So when LPW did their first like show with Force, I believe Larry, Rich, and Mitch were on it. And I wasn't really around LPW at the time. And then once they started doing shows more prominently, those three were on it as the RADz doing stuff. And I was kind of just doing my own stuff at RCW. And I was a top talent at the time as well too. I was there.
Yeah, I remember you were as a top. So
yes, yeah. So I was there for the most part, and then I believe there was an injury that happened. I think Kenny Stryker got hurt, and he was supposed to be wrestling Jack Pride in one of these shows. And so they needed somebody last minute to fill in. So they reached out to me, and I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Absolutely. Like I always, my friends are all there, so I know it's been vetted, and I know, it's a good place with the people running it. And a lot of people who were doing RCW at the time are also doing Love too. So, there was a lot of mixing of locker rooms, so people could, be able to do a bunch of things, but you kind of knew who was doing what. So that was my first shot with them. Worked Jack Pride, it was great. Love Jack. And I started doing more shows for them afterwards, but I was away from the RADz. They were kind of doing their own established thing. Like they had stories that were built. So I was kind of just on my own. And it was kind of awkward because like we wouldn't associate at LPW, but then we'd go to like different shows and we were like the menace heels just doing like insane stuff. So it was kind of funny. Like
I remember that. I remember that because like you were kind of being booked in one way at LPW, then you see you at see you guys at CWE, I'd see you at RCW doing group, like full group, and then you go to LPW and like you're not part of it, but you started showing up, but you still weren't part of it. And I was going, what that doesn't seem right to me. What the hell is going on here?
yeah. And it's funny, like the stuff as wrestlers, like you don't really like understand for the most part. Like you try your best to, but like when it comes to booking shows and all that stuff, like I'm not an expert on that. So as much as I wanted to tag with them, I understood that like, there was a direction, there was things that were pre-planned before I even got there. But I knew eventually it was going to work its way back in. And it was inevitable. Like as soon I did like 2-3 shows then, we're like, yeah, we're going to start like putting you in the mix. We're just going to figure out how to do it best. So I don't think it was like long after that where I super kicked like the Bollywood boys or whatever and let the RADz win the tag titles. And, we kind of fully formed there. So it was about time, but it was kind of nice to like do something different for a bit and do my own thing. And thankfully, like the fans were like, I never felt like there was a different reaction. Like when I was doing these as a heel here as the RADz, like people were giving me the reaction I needed. And then when I did face stuff as LPW, I was getting the reaction. So there was never like a mix, which I found was really cool, and really cool of the fans to like give me some grace in that sense of things.
Yeah. I think I've also noticed, and like, not to say that there's a different fan, because like I know plenty of us fans go between the promotions, but there are distinctly some fans that only go to certain promotions and that are a sizable chunk. And I know I see people at LPW that I never see anywhere else. I see people at Top that I never see anywhere else. I see people at RCW and CWE that I never see anywhere else. So I feel like the CWE RCW fans tend to have a big crossover there. I find a little more than any but like there's fans that cross over to every promotion, but I feel like each has kind of built their own fan base, so it's easy. I think it's almost easier for a person to pull that because of the shit. Then you got the people like myself who either refuse to boo the person or will only boo a person no matter what promotion they go to.
Yep.
Yeah, poor Larry. Gosh, he can't get a break.
Hey! I was cheering for him. Remember that?
Okay, good.
Last time
he's a sweetheart.
I'll be
cheering. Of a human. Yeah.
I know, and I'll be cheering for him on the 21st when we see him at CWE. That is for sure.
There we go. Okay, he needs that. He needs that. He has a Transformers room. Okay, he
needs that money to buy more Transformers.
Yeah, he needs that merch money. So.
Oh man, we gotta start making chants about Transformers now. Somehow
he would love it. He would. I think that would be a problem though, because it'd distract him from the match, and he would just be like, "Whoa!" and he just like talking about Transformers. It's like, Larry, you got
Watch
stuff
out.
to do. Pay attention.
Watch out! You're giving Andre ideas to make him lose and love more.
There you go.
More Transformers references.
Exactly.
But I loved kind of seeing the amount, like how you kind of all shifted throughout, and the early days of Top for you, like how like working there, like how is that like? Because again, like I feel like kind of each promotion has their own distinct feel too. Like what did you feel a big difference when working Top and working Love and working RCW? Did you feel a difference in being there?
Yeah, so I mean, thankfully I think the way that I developed my moveset and my character, I think it was kind of, I was able to do basically the same thing, just like change the way I was doing it in a sense. So like at RCW, we were doing more of like the RADz, like, just goofy heel stuff. So I was able to kind of like channel my stuff that way. Top Talent, I was doing a little bit more of like the triple threat stuff and doing more of like the single stuff there, which is a little more serious. So I was able to do that as a heel. And then in Love, I was like a face, and I was able to kind of do that in a way. So I was the same character, but I was able to channel it in different ways. And what made it, for me at the time, really cool being able to work all those places was like I was able to try different things consistently across the city, right? Whereas like a lot of people might have a character that they're doing now, and they have to do that everywhere until they change and do something else. I was able to do like 3 different characters at the same time. So it was fun because it made it different for me, and it made every show I was doing different, and I could do different things and not feel like I have to be the same person everywhere. But at the same time, it also was difficult to try to be like, okay, wait, what am I doing here again? Oh yeah, okay, I'm doing this, and try to like break some habits of like, I'm a face here, I shouldn't be doing heel stuff. So it was like trying to experience that, but it was unique experience, and it was really a really good time.
I still remember being at a Top show. It was you and Mo Jabari, and he's the good guy. You were kind of being portrayed as kind of like the tweener bad guy in the match, but he comes out wearing a Hitman, a Calgary Hitman jersey, and started getting booed. And that was, I think it was the start of me booing Mo at every show I would see him at. That's when I started booing him. But he came out wearing a Hitman jersey, and the crowd didn't know what to do because you were supposed to be the bad guy and he was the good guy, but the crowd was just like, huh? They were so confused. And it took a few minutes to kind of set the match right, but it was the weirdest reaction because he comes out wearing a Calgary jersey, but he's the good guy. It was the weirdest reaction I've ever seen. How to like starting out a match.
Yeah, but those are the unique points in a match where you're like, okay, this is different. Let's see how we can make this happen, right? I mean, it's easy to go out there as a heel and get booed. It's easy for the face to go out there as a face to get cheered. But like when you get the opposite reaction, now it really tests to see, okay, are you like good at this? Can you figure out a way to like spin this or like adapt or change on the fly? So those are always like unique experiences for sure.
Very cool. Okay. Yeah.
So like I really feel like LPW has really become your home promotion over these last like 3 years or so. I feel like that's become like your big main promotion. I know you work for RCW regularly. I know you go to Saskatchewan for Prairie Pro Wrestling out there. But like, how is it? Like, how have you felt kind of making like LPW almost feel like your home base?
Yeah, no, it's like literally the first show I did for LPW when I worked Jack Pride. I was like, yeah, this is going to be my place. Only because like there's a certain vibe that you feel. There's a certain like euphoric feeling that you feel when you're at a show. And honestly, a lot of times that feeling is not there, whether you're like working somebody like, might not agree with fundamentally, or, politics and all that BS that happens in wrestling. I've never been to a show in Love where I felt like I couldn't be myself, and B, feel that like everybody there isn't in everybody else's best interest. And that's like, I think, the coolest part about that promotion is that like everybody there is there to make everybody else better. Everybody there, whether or not you're close with everybody or not, like you respect everybody and you give them the grace that humans should be giving each other. And once you have that fundamental of like, we're all people, we all respect and love each other, then you can do really cool things, because everything after that is just all fun. So I've always felt like that place was like the place for me. and the way that they do their stories, the way that things are consistently done, that things make sense over a long term. There's callbacks. It's just like it gives you something as like a performer to chew on, and like it gives you things to be able to play off of. And I'm sure you guys have seen from like the extended period of time I've done there. I basically be doing like the same consistent story over the past like 2 years, just with different layers, and that makes it so much fun. So not only is it a good the people there are great and the experience there is great, but it's also like the storytelling and the wrestling is very good too. So it's a really special group of people.
Yeah, as I say, I feel really like when I look at LPW, I really feel it does have an old school mentality. Like I feel like the story has been built. Is not just like, hey, we're doing this month. Hey, we're doing this. It feels like there's a story being built. Even when you start a story, that there's something going to be happening for the next 4 or 6 shows for this story. It doesn't feel like, hey, we're building this on the fly. It feels like on that old school kind of feel that you used to get with you get in the major promotions again, but like it feels like they're building long-term stories, like a bunch at a time, not just we have one long-term story and everything else is here. And I think I love that about Love Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, I agree. And working with Love, it's given like that promotion has had a lot of amazing opportunities lately. With that show that you guys did in West Edmonton Mall with Rob Van Dam, that must have been really cool. And all of those shows, you've done 3 Oil Rumbles for Love, where you wrestling in front of thousands of fans at Oil Kings games, and like really like how is working in that sort of like environment? Because I don't think a lot of indie guys have that sort of ability to work a crowd that big. So like what is the experience with that?
Oh, those shows are always super fun, but they're also nerve-wracking too, because like there's a little bit of a comfort when you are wrestling in front of wrestling fans, because they get it, they understand it, they paid to come see a wrestling show. When you're doing those collab shows with like people who obviously like have seen the marketing and know it's like a wrestling Oil King show, but like a lot of them probably like aren't super big fans, or they might be casuals and stuff. So it really becomes one of those where like this match isn't about me. This match is like trying to appeal to a wider audience. So you kind of change the way that you work. You change the way you work the crowd, because you just can't be like and people will come. Like you need to be able to engage somebody who's probably scrolling on their phone or whatever, and have them like want to watch the show and engage you. So it becomes one of those like trial, quick matches. Get those greatest hits out, let people see what we can do, and then get out, so that we don't overstay your welcome. And I think with those shows, it becomes a practice for a lot of people who are used to wrestling on the indies to be like almost like a TV style match, where like you have strict times, you got to be in, you got to be out, you got to hit your main points. So it really helps on the experience and on that. But yeah, those shows are always super fun. And, there's always like a delayed reaction, because you'll do something and you'll be like, oh, that sucks. And then you'll like hear it like 2 seconds later and you're like, okay, all right, it wasn't that bad. So adjusting to that's a little different too.
I can say that I was at LPW at the third Oil Rumble a couple weeks ago. I didn't get to see the first 2 matches, but I did see yours and the other 2 matches during the intermissions. It was definitely a different experience as a wrestling fan in a crowd, because it may have been because of the size. It wasn't as loud as I was imagining it to be. It wasn't like people there, like you said, more casual, maybe not even wrestling fans there. Some of them probably are tuned out. But I will say, as an experience, because I was actually sitting as close to the ring as I was, I thoroughly enjoyed it. So nice. It was a very, very cool experience.
Nice. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I remember I got to be at the first one, but I was sat. I got our friend Mike Maloney, my friend Mike, the man who runs BackBreaker meeting, Mike Maloney. Yes. He actually got the Hughes box because he works for Hughes. So his boss gave him the box for the first Oil Rumble, and we were actually just literally right behind the ring in the box. We were just directly. It was the perfect like vantage point to watch it, because we were just directly behind the ring where our box was to watch the whole thing, and it was an experience, because it was weird, because like fans would like flock in behind for their match and go back to their seats like during the main, like because there was a section wasn't like filled in or something behind.
Yeah.
I remember, and then they kind of all filled in during the matches. It was kind of cool to see.
Yeah, super cool experience. Always fun, those shows.
Yeah. And then with the specifically to the West Edmonton Mall one, like being like in the center of the ice rink, you have a bunch of paid fans on the floor, but like it's obviously the difference having just the roaming people up top, kind of walking around looking in. How did that, like, did you feel a little more of a reaction, more like in time versus kind of out like at the remote, or is it more like delayed in that one too, or was it
Yeah, that one I think was a little different. That one, like the reactions were super loud. It was delayed a little bit, but like you could hear people being interested, and that show was super cool because like having people like at least in our match because we went first, and like that entire place was packed, and I heard from people like it was like multiple rows deep of people trying to like watch. So not only were we able to like give like that people who bought tickets and being able to be up and close, like give them a good experience, but also be able to market to people who are just casually in the building, to be able to see like what we're able to do. So that was really cool. That was closest I could feel to like doing like a full arena show in a sense. And that was an awesome experience too. Like it was just the whole day, like, you know, they made us feel like stars, even though we like, I don't ever feel like one, but they made us feel like it, which was pretty cool. And obviously being able to like, you know, the production of it, and the effort they put into it, bringing in our VD, really showed that like, you know, with the Oil Kings and with Wested, like it's not just like wrestling fans now, it's like other organizations are understanding how big wrestling is, and they want to bring wrestling because they feel like it's how to bring people in and get people engaged. And that's super cool, not only as a wrestling fan, but as a wrestler, that like not only are we trying to market, but like other people are trying to like use us as well because they know how big it is. So that's kind of cool to think of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. So I like I mentioned it earlier. You got to be part of the Making Kayfabe documentary that was on it's on CBC. It's like streams on CBC Gem, I think. Still,
Yes, ABC Gem. Yeah.
I know you were like, how did you like? I know they approached LPW, but like, how did you get to become? You were a feature point in that documentary. They talked about your story and everything. How did you get to be involved? 'Cause many people that work for LPW, but it was only like you, MRB, and TFA, and Spencer that kind of got more focused on. There. How was that? Like, how did you kind of become one kind of the focused people in that documentary?
Yeah. So I got reached out to by the person who produced it. His name was Omar Malam. He's genius producer. He made the Burger Baron documentary as well. Very, very talented guy. He reached out to me actually directly before any promotions were actually involved in it, to do this project. And I think it's because he saw my LinkedIn, and then he saw my school experience, my real job experience, and I think that it intrigued him. So he reached out to me personally, being like, "Hey, I'm planning on doing this documentary." I remember I was sitting at like a Subway or something, and I got this message, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool." So we started chatting a little bit, but there's no like a promotion affiliation. There was actually talks of it being, because I was working for like 3 or 4 promotions in the city at the time, like there was talks about where can we make this happen best. So it bounced around a lot between like, we could do it here, maybe we could do it here. Conversations were happening all places, but ultimately I think it fell with LPW, as I was mentioning earlier, because of the people who were there, and the fact that like we all knew that if it was done here, it was going to be done right, but also respect the people who are in it. And that, you know, we were going to have, as the people who were going to be featured in it, a lot of a say on like what we're comfortable with, what we're not comfortable with, versus in other places, it might be, you know, the promotion's decision on what they want to do. So LPW ended up landing with that. And I think that was the best possible place for it to go. And that was super cool, being able to work with him, being able to, you know, go to the training school, have him there at shows. It really became like my life for like a few months, which was scary, but also exciting. Having cameras follow you around life is is a very interesting experience.
Reality star, T.Y JACKSON.
Yeah. You know, the most awkward part is like I was in school, and so I'm like going to my professors. I'm like, "Hey guys, look, like there might be some cameras showing up tomorrow. Like, do you mind?" And all of them were like, "Yeah, no problem at all. Like, go for it." So I'm just like dreading, being like, I have to walk into this class and explain to my, you know, classmates who I've gone to school with for years now. They're like, "Why is there cameras following you around? Like, are you like, what's going on?" So that's what I was dreading the most. So, but that was super cool, and everybody was super excited about it. But yeah, that was definitely one of the most awkward experiences of my life. But I was very happy to show it because it helped me come out of my shell as a performer and be more comfortable around cameras and stuff. So yeah,
That's
fun
very
experience.
cool.
That's cool.
That is a very fun experience. So you obviously you tour, you head over to Saskatchewan for Prairie Pro. This is a question I like to ask a lot of the wrestlers that I get to interview. I know I've only interviewed 2 so far, but give it time. When it comes to being on the road, is there like anywhere you'd specifically like prefer to eat? Like, I know a lot of guys, they tend to just, just pack in bulk and like have a bunch of stuff prepared. But like, say like you're going to Saskatchewan for a Prairie Pro show, is there anywhere you like to stop by if you don't get to be there everyone's like as often as you are here or in Calgary or wherever?
Yeah, it really depends. It depends on like how much time you have before and after. I think for a lot of those shows, like we're in and out immediately. So like we end up like going to like maybe like a McDonald's or like a Subway or something that's like open late to be able to get food. But a lot of times like I'm surviving off like protein bars and like, energy drinks from the gas station. Like that's kind of like my road diet, which probably isn't the best for performing and optimizing. But every once in a while, like we'll stop at like, I think like a few months ago, we did a show, we stopped at like a Firehouse Subs, which like we have here, but we never really tried before. So we'll do that every once in a while if we have the time. But a lot of times we're like, fighting about, do we go to McDonald's or Wendy's, and ends up, McDonald's just wins because, of convenience. So yeah, it ends up being a battle of the time for sure.
Which is valid. Yeah. And then, also being on the road, I imagine you have like a playlist. I do like to ask about people's taste in music as well, because I tend to be a more eclectic, like I like almost every genre. Do you have like favorite genres or artists that anything?
Oh yeah. So we did a show in Innisfil a few weeks ago. It was me, a couple of RADz, and I just played Michael Jackson the entire time because I'm a big Michael Jackson guy. Love Michael Jackson. So I legit spammed like all of his albums in a row. And not only did I do that, but once it was done, I re-looped it again and I made them listen to the entire 3-4 albums in a row. So for me, I'm a big MJ guy. So if I have control of the music, I'll probably put on MJ. But I'm a big like hip hop, a big R&B guy. A lot of times we listen to like wrestling music too. Like we'll just have like wrestlers music on the playlist. But we actually spend most of our time like just talking because we just like creating bits and like bullying each other and doing that. So sometimes the music is an afterthought, but when it's on, yeah, you're gonna hear The Way You Make Me Feel 1,000 times, and you're gonna like it.
Top 3, yeah. No, I'd be down.
So speaking of music, one of my favorite songs you've ever had is "Necklace." It's one of my favorite theme songs, and I know when you changed it at LPW, it kind of broke Mel's heart. My former co-host, she was like brokenhearted that you stopped using "Necklace" there because she loves that song. It's like, when it comes to your entrance music and everything, like how is it just like I'm vibing to this song, I want to come out to it, or is it like a process of figuring out what works best for you? Like how does like with Necklace, how'd you come pick Necklace when you were working? I know you were using an RCW and you still use it at RCW. I know you still use it there, but how did like and then your current like how do you choose to come into this music? Like what inspires you to really want to pick those?
Yeah, music is always difficult because you're trying to balance like your character and what you like, because sometimes the music that you like doesn't match with the character you're playing now, and sometimes it can be very jarring if you're coming out to music that just makes no sense for like what you're trying to portray. So like with Necklace, for example, it was created by a fellow, he's a local guy, his name is Marco. He's actually one of the guys that I met when I did my acting class at the Grindstone Theater, and he was a guy he was a YouTuber. He did a lot of like, his channel is a little weird now, so I'm like I'm not really like a big fan of it, but like at the time he was just one of those like YouTubers that just like filmed themselves doing like really dumb stuff, and he ended up doing music, and I ended up meeting him and I listened to one of the songs and I was like, this Necklace song is pretty cool. And it's a very douchey song, to be honest. It's like a very like I'm better than you kind of song. So when I was being more of a heel at RCW, I was like, I'm gonna start using this. And I absolutely loved it. Like it's one of my favorite songs, but it's like so douchey and pricky that like when I was like, okay, I'm playing this like babyface, like white meat babyface that LPW. I can't be using a song that's talking about like stealing money and like having sex with people. You know what I mean? It's like I can't be like I can't be like portraying that. So I like reluctantly I was like I have to change this. So I ended up finding a new song, but I kept it at RCW because I was like, yeah, whatever. I'll just like keep it here. I don't think it's like a big deal if I have it. But yeah, so it really just depends on like what character you're portraying. But like there's times where I'm like, I want to change it. I have a new song I want to change it to. It's just like you listen to songs all the time and you get like bored of it, but it becomes always a fighting battle for what music you want to play.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
Very beautiful way of saying that. So we are in the present now. We have gone through this entire career of one T.Y Jackson, and we're currently here, February 2026. You got a 6-man tag coming up for winner chooses stipulation at LPW 45. Yeah, 45. Coming up at the end of this month. And of course, as you won the Revolution Rumble last year, you've got that big match with Grand Champion Rhinestone Cowboy Stephen Crow in March. I just want to open the floor to you, and if there's anything you haven't said about this match coming up, this Grand Championship match, if there's anything you need to get off your chest about it, this would be the time to say it.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'll try to tame my words because I could probably get very passionate about this, but I think I've gotten to a point with it where like I've been chasing this Grand Championship for like 3 years now, and like every single time it was like it was right there for me. Whatever, like, you know, whether it was like the right way or the wrong way, the championship was there for me at multiple times, and it just didn't work out in some way, shape, or form. Whether I wasn't able to win the match, whether somebody interfered, whether I was told to compromise and do something I didn't want to do to win the title. Like there was so many periods where it could have happened, and I got to a point where I was like, man, like I don't know if this is going to happen. I don't know if this opportunity is going to come again. And the Revolution Rumble was like my last chance. Like this was like, I need to win this, because if I don't, I think I'm done in terms of coming for this championship. So when you have nothing to lose, in a sense, because everything's gone on, because there's been so much ups and downs and emotional turmoil with this, like I've oddly come to peace with it, which makes me, I think, you know, I think of like, you know, when you have the person who's like calm and crazy, I think that's like the worst combination, because like now they'll do anything to get it. And I think I've kind of reached that point where like I'm not even angry about it anymore, but I'm like, I'm gonna get it, and I'm gonna figure out a way to get it. So you might see a side of me that's different. You might see a side of me that, you know, isn't typical, but I think like I've reached a point where I know that like if I don't get this, this is my last chance. I'm willing to do anything. So this 6-man tag for me is not only going to be a scoping opportunity to see how Steven is right now, or whoever the grand champion is going to be at the time, any of the three, be able to see what the opportunity is, to see where their mindset is, but also to like kind of play within the rules and see what can I do to like, you know, make sure I can get the stipulation. Because if I get the stipulation, like I have ideas on what I'm going to do and how I'm going to get that title. But even if he gets it, it is what it is. Like I'll figure out a way to get it. So this is really going to be like the pre, you know, how's this match going to go in March? And I think in March people will be surprised on what I'm planning on, because I'm planning on leaving with that title one way, shape, or form. So
hell yeah.
I know I'm hoping for that. So beyond LPW, what is the future in professional wrestling live for T.Y Jackson? Do you have aspirations to have you been able to go to tryouts I know you got to work with C and A when they were here last fall. You got to do some extra work for them and everything. What are those aspirations? What does the future possibly hold for one T.Y Jackson?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is like, I don't want to give a cliche answer, because I think anybody who gets into wrestling wants to make it to the top in one way, shape, or form. So obviously it's that, like, I want to make it to the top and be the best I possibly can, but also I want to be able to try out new experiences and do different things. And whether that's here, whether that's elsewhere, like branching out, doing shows elsewhere, going other places, traveling more, like that's on my bucket list for this year. But yeah, it's honestly doing the best I can, trying to be a good person while doing it, and then making it as far as I possibly can. I think that to me is my goals. So we'll see where that takes us.
Wow.
Wonderful.
And again, I know a lot of wrestlers. I've met a few wrestlers that didn't want to make it to the big time. They just wanted to go places and do some fun things. They weren't worried about the big time. And I think any wrestler and that if you can have that dream, but if you don't really worry about it and just say, I just want to try new things and branch out, I think that's the best way, because if you branch out a little more and a little more and a little more, eventually it might just get you there, because little steps kind of take you to the best place.
For sure. Yeah. And I don't want to kind of fixate. I think like sometimes people fixate on like thinking of the goal immediately, be like, I want to get there. And a lot of times, and you see it for a lot of wrestlers, like the goal is the path is never clean. It's never like, there's a lot of experiences in between. And so like, if I just focus on what the next show is going to be and do the best possible I can, eventually will lead to the place where I want to go. Whereas if I just hyper fixate on like, this is where I want to go, I'm going to do this, you kind of neglect the experiences that make it valuable for you to get there. So yeah.
Very well said. Absolutely.
Very well. So before we we're going to be wrapping this up here about an hour mark. We've talked a bunch. So where can the fans find you if they want to talk to you, they want to get in touch with you, they want to reach out to you? Where can they find you?
Yeah, of course. You could find me Instagram at T.Y JACKSON, Twitter or X T.Y JACKSON. You'll find me there. Put some form of those letters and you'll find me there somewhere. That's where I kind of post a lot of my stuff and where I am and what I'm going to be doing. So you can reach out to me there. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And then they can see you where?
Oh, yes, you can see me. You can see me. Sorry, my brain is everywhere. So biggest show obviously going to be the end of the month here. God, I should probably know this date. I'm going to get in trouble. I think is it the 27th?
It is the 27th. Well done.
Gosh. Okay, phew. February 27th, you can find me at the LPW Southside Rec Room. And then you look at my socials. I probably post where most of my shows are going to be on there, so you'll see me there. But that's the big one. That'll be at the end of this month. So, yeah,
perfect. And before we get out of here, AWS, where can they find you, my friend?
Absolutely. You can find me on the Bluesky at awscomedy.bluesky.social. You can find me on the Instagrams at awscomedyeg. And if you want to watch me and my buddy Andreas and my best friend Malcolm, we have finally released season 1 finale of the Morph-a-mania Podcast, the final 4 episodes of Mighty Morphin season 1. It was a long one, and it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of fun bits in there. Most of them I edited because this was my editing debut for that podcast, and I think I did a really good job. You can check out all of our episodes of the Morph-a-mania Podcast on youtube.com/@humanoidfreak2515. And I will give a quick shout out to my boys at the Grindstone Theater, one of my favorite places in Edmonton. It is a subsidized theater space for new and emerging artists. They have a theater school with a lot of great classes, some of which TY has taken.
I have.
T.Y Jackson approved. I've taken classes there. There's a lot of great stuff there. I highly recommend. I have a couple of recommendations. One, they have a fundraiser show coming up to help keep the lights on. There is a show. It's going to feature a lot of their main acts like Mixtape Improv, Help I'm Joking, the stand-up show, SketchUp for sketch comedy from SketchUp and Ham. You can find that show on February 14th at the Grindstone Theater. I believe it starts around 7, and tickets are pay by donation from what I understand. You can check that out there. I also will highly recommend Mixtape Improv and their weekly press play improv jams. If you've ever wanted to try improv in a new, welcoming, inclusive environment, one that I am very frequently at, you can check that out every Saturday, noon to 2, also at the Grindstone Theater. It is 100th Street, just off of White Ave. You can check them out there. All of their shows you can find at their website at grindstonetheater.ca. You can also find links to all their classes and things if you want to try something and you want to pick up a class. I can highly recommend. Yeah, that's it from me. Andre C., where can they find you, my friend?
You can find me on the X Bluesky at that Canada guy. Threads at that Canada. You can find me right here in BackBreaker Video, where we do our show Pops Up Presents, along with our show The Pop Spot, where we talk about all the indie wrestling. That will be back in a couple of weeks, covering the Top Talent Pro Wrestling show from the 20th and the CW show from the 21st. That will feature Larry, one of the RADz, on that show. And then we will be back again for a double dose of Pop Spot, where we'll be covering both the Thursday and Friday night shows from Love Pro Wrestling, which if you come to Thursday, you might get to see yours truly yell a little bit in the ring.
And hopefully be professional.
Hopefully. But I think that's it for the show.
Right.
So Adam, you're up.
Can I get a pop for that?
Pop.
Pop. And with that, we've come to the end of the second episode of Pop Spot Presents. T.Y, I want to thank you so much for joining us and chat a little bit about your personal. Is there anything else you want to say to the fans before we take it home?
No, I just want to say I appreciate you too. It's always a pleasure chatting with you. This is amazing. I hope the podcast goes to heights that are unimaginable because you two are great people and you deserve great things. So very much looking forward to see what you guys do. And yeah, looking forward to see you guys do at the show. So.
Thank you so much, T.Y. So that is it for the second episode of the Pop Spot Presents. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe to BackBreaker Media to get more of this interview goodness. We drop one of these every month and more of our other show, The Pop Spot, where we pop about all the stuff we love in independent wrestling in Alberta. That is it from me. I have been AWS. That has been Andre C. This has been T.Y Jackson. And until next time, stay poppin'. Bye-bye.
Thank you.